So another video. It's been another week. I want to apologize firstly. I did say I would be doing these every 2 weeks, but I'm not, two every week, but I have not been able to keep up to that. At this moment, I have decided to do one in the gym and one sort of talking head from my office, but I had a little bit of an issue with the talking head one at the office, so it's not been able to be uploaded. Made some couple of little boo-boos there, but you live and learn. First one ever, so it's not too bad. So I'm gonna skip that one and just basically go straight into this one to keep some sort of momentum and rhythm. So today I'm gonna be doing 3 heavy lifts. I haven't been doing much of the heavy stuff lately. I've been showing you guys sort of technique and tips on bits and pieces. So I've been sort of sticking to moderate kind of based exercise or beginner or advanced or even some sort of requested exercises and movements. So this one's gonna be a bit more for me. This is how I would train. I'm gonna do 3 heavy lifts, well, not heavy, but heavy lifting based instead of doing longer reps or anything like that. And you'll see I'll do 5 sets on the flat, I'll do 4 sets on the shoulder press, and I'll do 3 sets on the decline. So I'm working a flat and upright and then a decline bench. That'll be essentially all I'm doing for today. That's enough for me. That's plenty enough stimulation to grow. I do a lot of this kind of stuff on a daily basis anyway. In fact, I did some super heavy ones of this last night about what looks like, what's the time now? I don't even know where the clock is in this place. 2:19, I was here last night. Yeah, it's about 20 hours, 18 hours ago. I did 5 sets of heavy on here, which you can see on my Instagram story. But anyway, I don't believe in the rest period too much because I'm not doing full chest days, full back days, full leg days like that, or pull days, push days, press days. I don't personally do those too much, so I don't need that 3-4 day recovery because I'm not fully exhausting myself like that. I'm trying to maintain, as I've said a multitude of times on these videos. So I train every single day, almost every single part. Not every single part like I'm trying to, but just whatever I'm going with on the day, based on what I'm feeling like, recovery-based decisions that I do make at home prior to coming into the gym, and small alterations based on people around the gym and exercise equipment being available. So that's how I train. Sorry, my phone is doing an update, so I'm allowing that to go through. So yeah, I'm just gonna do a 3 sets heavy. So I'm gonna do 2 sets of build up because it's the first exercise I've done as far as movement's concerned. I did 10 minutes of reverse walking on a treadmill, which you guys have seen me do way too many times, and 1,000 steps on the stepper, which is around about sort of 17 minutes of just on the stepper. While I edit videos and update and do this bits and pieces, I sort of do a multitude of things at the same time, or I try and maximize on time at least. So this one will be very simple, as I explained before, so there's not too much to talk about. Ain't nothing to it but to do it, apparently, is how they would say it. So I'm just gonna get it done and see how we go from there. Okay, bring, problem, move it, solved. Right. All right, so it's just a warm up, just to get a bit of blood flow, get things going. So I'm not out here trying to maximize too much. I'm also not out here trying to waste too much of the reps and trying to waste too much of the energy that I have in reserve for this movement, including the next 2 after. So 12, perfectly enough. It probably feels like about 40-50% of what I could do. But it's enough to get some movement. I'll add a little bit more weight, do exactly the same thing, maybe a couple of reps less, that's about it. And then I'll get into those last 3 sets, which will be a bit more a decent sort of weight, and let's see how much weight we get on there at that time. But yeah, it should be at least 100 kilos by the last 3 sets, 100 kilos or more. So 225, 230 pounds, something like that. I think it's 225. Anyway, not sure. So yeah, I'll just chuck a little bit more. There's an 11.3 kilo plate. 25 pounds. Ugh. So again, this is just another build-up weight. I did just sets of push-ups and burpees at home just before I left and came here. So that's why I'm able to go into a 60 on the bar to start with for my first set. I don't recommend starting off with 60 kilos to anyone, but my shoulders and chest are kind of still warm anyway. It was less than 45 minutes ago when I was at home doing burpees. So, and with my burpees, I do push-ups. So yeah, kind of warm there. I'm good. But yeah, this is just that warm up the shoulder and the movement. Slowly, gradually bring a little bit more weight in, especially on the first exercise. I won't do as many of these warm-up sets in the next 2 exercises. About 10 there, I think. 9 maybe, not sure. But it feels warm. The movement feels good. I feel fairly strong. The connection from the wrist into the elbow down through into the shoulder, and then pushing into the shoulder blade into the back, kinetically energizing that transfer of energy from the floor, which is what you can see maybe with my butt lifting off the ground a little bit. I'm pushing into the ground as I'm pushing the weight up. So I'm getting that transfer of energy by pushing into the ground. That kinetic energy goes into the shoulder blades, which is the next point of contact with earth. And that then, because it can't go anywhere, goes up into my arms and through the chest muscle, tricep and shoulders. So that's basically how that works. So I'm gonna switch these out. Let's go and try and hit that 100 kilo mark there, which took me years to get to, guys. So there's no rush to get there. I get there safely. I did sort of come up with some guys, as far as training is concerned, who were unable to get to that 100 kilo mark because they rushed it and created a few little niggles and injuries that stopped them from being able to get there. So take your time, get strong enough in the little stabilizing muscles, and you'll be able to get there, maintain it, and sustain it much longer without injuries if you do that safely and take it. So my rest periods will be a little bit longer in here now. These last 3 sets I'll do as working. The first 2 as I said, just warm-up sets, but these 3 will be working. I'm not sure if I'll go up in weight. I've never been a big advocate of lifting more weight than my own weight. I've got to that sort of mindset or that thinking mentality by having done it. So I've made the mistakes to learn the lesson. And I've just never in my personal life ever come across any instances where I've needed to lift or be powerful enough to be able to lift more than my own body weight anyway. It could be completely different for others, but this is, again, not advice for you on how you should train. This is me explaining to you my journey and how I've trained over the years, what I found to be best, and what I want you guys to get from this more so than just training exercises and routines to go and do yourself, is the understanding that it is a process in which you should be learning from your mistakes. You should be trying different things. You should be making some sort of record keeping type aspect. There needs to be a record keeping aspect to your training over the years. Okay, I did this, that didn't work. Okay, I tried that again, thinking maybe that wasn't working because I was also doing this, and now I'm going to try it again, but without doing that part to it. So times where I was training 2 or 3 different disciplines or 2 or 3 different types of training at the same time means I can't give it 100% effort into one clearly and purely. Those type of things, I'm just sitting upon reflection and figuring out what's best works for me. Which are the types of training routine and regimes that I had maybe less injury? Which ones was I able to perform better at? Which means probably that my body's better suited to that type of training. Which ones did I enjoy better as well? You know? So these type of things you want to keep an eye on. These type of things you want to always have in your head. And I've had that stuff going on in my head. I can't go back to the original. That's how long ago it was. It was 25 years ago when I first started training and hitting the gym with my old man. Back in my hometown, or used to go to like a bodybuilder's gym. I believe I've mentioned him before, but a guy called Danny used to run the city gym in Wanganui, New Zealand. And yeah, that guy kind of got me started. He was Mr. New Zealand, Mr. Universe, World New Zealand representative or something along those lines. He was the kind of guy that needed to walk in sideways through doorways. You know, he was a big, shout out to his daughter Tara. back in the days, good friend. So yeah, this kind of stuff for me got me really excited and really going into the gym and finding different regimes and routines. I was training basketball at the time and found that weight training was not the right way to do basketball training. So it made me ask questions and got to the point where I became a trainer from asking so many questions and studying down that line, along with a million other jobs along the way. But I'm really interested in the gym stuff. So I've started to accumulate a lot of knowledge from a very young age. And I've been able to apply some of those things as I've moved on to different types of training, from rehabilitative, sports strength and conditioning, bodybuilding, you name it, average Joe stuff, to guys who have gone and climbed Mount Everest multitude times in professional sports, across tennis and basketball and volleyball and rowing and whatever. But anyway, putting all those things together, and this is what you come up with. CrossFit was in there too. Shout out Nick. But yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna go for about anywhere between 8 to 10 on here, because that's heavy enough for that. Okay, had a bit more in the tank than I thought. The 10's good. 10 will do. Might add, so I saw a bit of a pause. I was doing a bit of a pause in that one. Pause on the chest and a push. Trying to not necessarily use that technique for anything, like I believe that technique's best at anything. That's not what I'm trying to say here. What essentially I'm doing here is I'm trying to create power from nothing, as in pausing the weight on my chest and starting to explode the power from the zero sort of standstill, without using any of that momentum of sometimes when you come down, you can, even if you're not bouncing the weight on your chest, there's a bit of a momentum. I've talked about that energy transfer, that kinetic energy, sometimes with flow that can come along. So I'll use that technique of flow, possibly in the second set, but definitely in the third set, that's for sure, because I'll be needing it then. So while I've got a bit more energy, there's the first set on the slightly heavier side. I'll use that pause push from scratch type theory, just to maximize a little bit more. So I'll add a little bit, and then you'll see me probably drop down to 7 or 8 reps. And I'll probably use a bit more of that momentum bouncing a little bit, or will look like bouncing on my chest a little bit. But I can assure you, although there will be a small percentage of bouncing in there, I'm not going to classify that as bouncing. You'll see much worse bouncing videos online than what you're about to see here. So yeah, we'll keep that pretty easy and simple. I'm not going to do too much else. The technique of it is, for me personally, I've always moved around using these little markings on the bar as little indicators of what is the best way and best width for my arms. I've done some wide grip because you're technically stronger on the wider grip. So when you've got that ego lifting thing and trying to get as many weights as you can on the bar, you're gonna go a little wider. But that's where sort of injuries have kind of crept in and kept coming in as a way of explaining the bad technique stuff. They kept coming in when I was going wide, so I kind of narrowed it out. Had to change the technique a little bit, and I had to obviously reduce the weight, but I was able to not only get back to that weight and surpass that weight with a narrower grip, but I was able to do it without any injuries or anything, so no major injuries anyway. So that goes to show that my skeletal system and the way my body fires muscles works a little bit better that way. So I'm sticking with that. That's kind of my philosophy behind that. I'm not trying to gain any sort of musculature around any particular part of the chest more so than others. Like, I'm not trying to hit the upper or the lower or the wider or whatever. I just want to be decently strong at bench press. So that's my bench press grip, and that's what I'm sticking to until I have to change it for whatever reason. This will be the one. Apart from that, you'll see me arching my back a little bit off the ground. And that's just because I'm pushing into the floor with my feet. So my butt muscle doesn't actually touch the bench. So it's just my feet on the floor and then my back of my shoulders and shoulder blades on the bench. Then everything else is essentially just floating in the air, so to speak. But otherwise, there's not much. I'm controlling the way down using the eccentric phase as much as I can, and then powering, pushing through on the explosion all the way. I'm not trying to explode as much as, you know, what explosion would look like as far as pushing as fast as I can, but I'm definitely putting a little bit more power into the upward phase, the concentric, the concentric phase versus the eccentric phase coming back down. So that's pretty much it. I'm stick a little bit on here and try and pump out those 8 I was talking about earlier. Emphasis on try. Let's see how that goes. Haven't really gone over 100 in quite some time, so there's a little bit of nervousness there, which I think is normal and good. So I'm gonna use them nerves, transfer that energy, that nervous energy of, ooh, will I make it? Will I not? Will I get caught out? What else? What will happen? I'll use that energy, switch it around, and try and put that into the right places, and see if I can crank out 8 here, as I said earlier, without having that. Oh yeah, I got this. Yeah. Yeah. All right, so I got a bonus in there. That helps. Everybody loves a good bonus. All right, so that kind of changes things. So I'm going with the flow. Thought I'd get about 7 to 8 pulled out of 9, which goes to tell me, mathematically, if I did 10 and then 9, I've got to stick with trying 8 here, right? And because I put some weight up, means I got to put some more weight up here now too. So this is the dummy in me speaking. Mike, aka Mike, trying to push myself, but I need to be smart about it. I still got seated shoulder press and decon flex to go, so maybe I'll just keep that way there. If I was doing just bench press right now and moving on to something different, then yeah, Mike would win this conversation and I'd have a little bit more weight on here by now. But I'll take the pre-fatigue and the exhaustion of this last 2 sets, which have been a bit taxing. I can feel them already. I'll take that as a cue, so keep that on there. Remembering something, your muscles don't know how much weight is on here, okay? That's just your mind. Other people will call it the ego. Your mind knows the weight because you're repeating it in your own head. If I was facing this way the whole time and someone else was putting the weights on, I wouldn't technically know what's on there. My perception of how heavy it is in my own mind, they have a perceived rate of exhaustion, PRE, sort of like a score out of 10. This to me would have felt like probably a 7. If 10 is I can't lift it, this is about a 7. So mathematically speaking, it's pretty simple. Let's just call it 70%, right? That 70% will feel like an 80 to 85 the second round, as in the second time through with this weight, because I've already got that exhaustion, that pre-fatigue. I've used up a lot of that energy in the muscle already. So I don't need to pop up, let's say, to an 8 or 8.5 out of 10 by adding more weight to get to that 85%. More than likely that at this point will put me into the 90, 95%. So I'm already pre-exhausted. So I use the pre-exhaustion as a down-regulated score, and then use the same weight to bring that back up to roughly that 70 to 80% mark again. I don't know if that made sense. It's the first time I've actually explained it out loud like that, but to me that makes absolute sense. So this is my training. Thank you for coming along and watching. So that makes sense to me, therefore I'm going to stick to it, but that's my perceived rate of exhaustion. Yeah, that would make sense. My perceived rate of exhaustion has gone up based on the exhaustion of the reps in the set. Therefore, the weights in the bar don't need to go up as fatigue kicks in and brings that back up by keeping the same weight. So yeah, that makes sense. All right, have to run that by myself again. But anyway, hopefully that makes a little bit of sense to you guys too. I'm going to pump out another 6 to 8 on this, 8 being the max because 10, 9, 8. But I also know that I'm pretty fatigued, so 6 might kick in. I don't do this heavy stuff too often, so I'm kind of doing it for the first time on camera a little bit. I'm a little bit nervous, you can probably tell. And it's not just because of the camera, obviously, but I don't know, just I don't like failing with myself, for myself, to myself as well. So this bit's a little bit nerve-wracking for myself. So Mike wins otherwise, and I don't want that. So I'm in competition with Mike at all times. So here we go, we're gonna pull out a 6 to 8. More than likely we'll sort of pump the bar off my chest a little bit too on this one, just to make sure I get the numbers. But either way, let's see. The point I was trying to make earlier is that the muscles don't know the weight. The muscles just know how hard they're working. So as long as the muscles are doing that perceived exhaustion, like I said, to about 80%, the weight is irrelevant. Oh. Oh. I didn't think I had that. That was fun. What was that, 10 seconds for that last rep? The fuck? Right. So I'm gonna sit here and enjoy that for a little bit. If I stand up now, probably get a little woozy. Probably didn't breathe the best during that last rep or two. But my idea was just to get that thing up, no matter what. So I'm not gonna lie. There was a little bit of the camera's on me, so you better fucking do this. Especially on that last rep, so thanks to you guys, I guess. Anyway, I'm gonna strip these weights off, tuck this bar on the bench press, readjust the camera, and see you guys in a second. All right, so here we go with the seated shoulder press. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this one is a little far back for me. So you'll see me do some stupid stuff as far as getting this thing off of the shoulder, off of the press. This machine is sitting all the way back too. So that would only lead me to believe that this is one of those machines that I guess needs a spotter to help me get this thing off the bar. But I'll do a couple of little weird little things to get that off the bar, especially when it gets a little heavier on that 3rd or 4th set. Don't do as I do. You probably won't need to, because I doubt your shoulder press machine is going to be as old as this one or set up the same. So you should be able to pretty much just reach back and pick that up. This one's way far back, so I'm going to end up angling my back off of the bench and then repositioning myself back after that. Not something I recommend. So let's see how that works out. Should be interesting. But I'm gonna do 4 sets. I'm gonna do probably 2 sets of this weight. Shoulder press over my head, not something I've done very much of, or something that I've done for a very long time at all. I've not been a big fan of it in the past, so it's not something I've continued to do through the years. I've had some shoulder injuries that have created that sort of I guess that behavior, that learned behavior around shoulder press, which I'm a big fan of. I don't need to press overhead much. Doesn't mean that you don't. So I don't do it. I'll do lateral raises all day, but I won't do anything overhead with a shoulder press too often. I do sometimes use it, but not too often. It is definitely not in my weekly or monthly routine. But I'll do it here for you guys because I want to do something 1, 2, 3 on the benches. So flat, horizontal, one vertical, and one on the decline, because I believe decline is an underutilized chest movement. So anyway, I'll also get one under the belt. All right, so I did 12. I'll do an 11, a 10, and maybe an 8 with the 4 sets of weight. I don't try to do too heavy of a weight, but I will go up in weight on the 3rd and the 4th set, which will drop my rep range around that 8 to 10, possibly a little bit less, maybe 6 to 9, something like that. But I should be okay with a 10 after the 12 here. And the reason I'm doing that 12, not pushing it too much, is very much like that first set of, or the first 2 sets. I warm up on the flat. I want to make sure I get the movement, make sure I recruit and utilize the right muscles as much as I can to the best of my ability, versus thinking, oh, my arms are warm because I just did heavy bench. If I was going to use my arms and do a real pull or some lat pull down, the rear pull would still need a couple of exercises to warm that up too, because it's, although using the same shoulder joint, there are a different group of muscles in the shoulder and also a different secondary group of muscles, like the bicep versus the tricep for a pull than it would be for a push. So anyway, that's basically why I'm going to do that. So this one here will be my first sort of working set. So I'm going to head for about 10 on that same weight. And by doing that, that weight like that, I'm going to try and make it feel a little heavier, as I briefly touched on at the end of that last set on the bench press back there. It is the perceived weight that the muscle and the mind have versus the actual weight itself, the number itself. 100 kilos for me is heavy. 100 kilos for someone else may not be, whereas 100 kilos for everybody else might be impossible. It's that perceived weight. Someone can have as much growth in muscle tissue and strength percentage-wise if they were lifting 50 kilos and I was lifting 100 kilos, okay? At my size, doesn't mean that anybody else is doing the same amount of weight in order to get the same amount of recruitment and rebuilding of muscle tissue. Someone half my size could percentage, based on body weight, percentage of muscle building might be a whole lot more than me, right? Even though their weight would be less. So all that stuff is irrelevant. Don't do the ego lifting for the numbers. There is a time and place for that. I'm a boy. I can be idiotic and have been in the past, so I can't be too hypocritical. I'd say not to do it at all or ever, because I have a lot. I'm just saying, just be mindful of it, be smart with it, pull it out when it's needed. And definitely don't ego lift all the time, every day. That's for sure. Pick your training partners wisely. All right, so this will be my first working set. As I said, I'm trying to make the same weight as the previous warm-up set. Air quote warm-up, because there wasn't really just a bit of weight on there still. But I'll try and do that by just lowering the frequency. So doing my tempo lifting a little bit better. So it should feel heavier if I slow it down. Okay, so lowering that tempo down, a little slower on the way down. But I felt like a small pause at the bottom before exploding up, definitely made that feel a little bit harder. And I also had my arms slightly wider than the previous set. I find it a little bit easier to have my arms narrow. So I made it a little bit tougher by putting my arms out just that one extra notch, which is about an inch, maybe a little bit more than an inch wide. I put the outside of my palm on that notch, typically on the inside, and if I go out one bar, then obviously I'm about an inch or so out wider both sides, and I feel that. So I'll try and put a little bit more weight on this one, which means I'll bring that grip back into that first line because I feel stronger there. So to see the feel what the actual weight is going to feel like if I'm increasing the weight, then I should be in my stronger position, which feels for me a bit more narrow. Around about here is where I feel strongest. Here I don't. I feel like it's the elbow's too far away from my body. I feel stronger and safer with my elbows tucked in. So this is roughly where I would be lifting. I can usually guesstimate that pretty well by grabbing the bar, but what you could do if you're not sure, if you're starting to try and practice this movement or this philosophy of training, bring it out, sit it kind of on your chest a little bit and adjust your arms a little bit. You should be able to move your arms a little bit on the weight, on the bar, and then one sort of small little start and you're like, okay, feel stronger. So that's usually how I'll do it. That's how I've practiced it in the past and how I got to this position as it stands. So, tiny little baby weights on top, shoulder press, not my strongest suit. I'm gonna try and pump out about 8 reps on this in that slightly narrower grip, as I've said, and see how we feel from there. Yeah. Okay, so thankfully I was able to pull that narrow grip out and felt pretty strong with that, although I felt weak with the muscle and the push. I felt strong in the positioning and the technique, so that feels good. So I'm going to stick with that technique for my 4th set. I'm just going to put a tiny little bit more weight on again, just as it feels like I can push myself a little bit more and do the final set. So check one up. What's the final set of this exercise anyway? Not necessarily the whole workout. So 5 sets flat, 4 sets vertical, and I'll do 3 sets decline just to finish that out. And that should pretty much do it for like a decent sort of press or push day. I don't really do press and push days, but thought I'd try that out and go back to a little bit of old school stuff and see how that feels. Plus it gives you guys the idea of, I believe most guys are training, you know, like push days, pull days, or chest day, Monday, whatever it may be. So I believe a lot of people are doing those. So I'll let you guys have my version of that to help you guys get along with your training and your routines with essentially maybe a couple of tips and tricks here. This is what I do all this for, is just tips and tricks and share some of the stuff that I've done. I'm not trying to tell you guys how to do it. It's all on you. If it's hard for you, then it's probably going to be working. Make it hard, make it tough. Change the mindset, flip the switch, make things go, stay safe, enjoy it, be proud, get the results, share the knowledge, the lessons. Anyway, bunch of rambling on. Right, there's a bit of a camera malfunction there. Battery ran out. But I believe I was just about to start the last set, so I don't know if you missed out on anything, but I'm going to go for about 6 to 8 with that narrow grip. Well, then a few more than I thought I would, but whatever. That's probably the little bit of extra rest that I had. So I'm going to pop over just one machine in front of us and do the decline. I think it's a slightly overlooked exercise, which I believe actually is a very good exercise. Take this bar with me since this one's empty and move you guys over to just here, which should be good. I didn't put the same freaking weight back on. Okay. So prior to, I did my morning routine, which I'll probably talk into more detail over the next video or two that I do in my, let's call it office, but at my house. So I'll go into a bit more detail with that there. So apart from that, I've had a protein shake smoothie with some blackberries, a banana, a couple of raw eggs, protein powder, whey, and casein. No, it wasn't casein today. I had collagen protein in it, and a bit of creatine. That's it. And I had that probably about an hour before I came here. About 15-20 minutes after that, I did a little bit of burpees outside just to get my energy up, because I found myself sort of not crashing in energy, but a little bit low in energy. So I wanted a bit of a caffeine. I also took a little bit of a pre-workout caffeine, which is kind of like one of those energy drinks. I don't really do the pre-workout powders so much. I'm not sure the last time I've used any of those, but I don't have a problem with a little bit of like a Red Bull or a Monster or a Rockstar or something like that. I normally get the 0 sugar ones. You can argue with me all day about how they're not really 0 sugar. I'd probably make that argument and be on your side too, to be honest. But if I need a little bit of a push in energy, I'm good with that. I ain't doing anything too serious, as I've mentioned a million times. So I'm gonna stick with that as my little pre-workout. It does give me a little bit of alertness in the mind and the brain. So that seems to be what I'm lacking if I'm crashing a little bit. And I did crash a little bit, and I'll tell you what happened. So last night, or 2 days ago, I got a bit of a stomach bug. Not sure what from. I'm not going to name the people I think gave it to me because it's unfair. I couldn't stomach anything, so I tried to take a sip of water, it would come back up. Obviously, food was the thing. So I just stayed out like for about 24 hours and felt really empty. I brought in some food a little bit, but just had to slowly reintroduce that about 24 hours later. But anyway, the point is I was really dehydrated. So I went and got like a gallon of distilled water and added a tiny little bit of flavoring to that just to make it a little easier to drink and make it able to be drunk a little bit faster. But what I was meant to do is add my salt to that, my electrolytes to that, but I forgot. And so I found myself drinking this whole gallon over the next sort of 12 to 18 hours. So late last night, early this morning, and through the earlier parts of this day, of today, and just found myself going to the toilet so many times. Now, typically I can drink those gallons of distilled water with the salt in them, and I might go to the bathroom maybe twice. I went at least 10 to 11, maybe 12 times. A couple last night and about 8 or 9 times this morning. Now, for anybody who says salt is bad for you, you'll see that I've been talking about adding salt to your foods and adding salt to your water for 5, 6, 7, 8 years now. I add salt, sodium chloride tablets to my water as I drink the water almost every time. Now, I can tell you that I don't necessarily feel a huge difference as far as like energy boosting or anything like that, but there is an energy vibrancy to life in a way that you do have. It's just slowly, incrementally over time, so you don't notice it immediately like you would a caffeine kick or anything drug related, pharmaceutical drug related. I mean, you feel those immediately for the most part, but naturopathic, organic stuff, you don't feel instantly. So it's over time, so you don't notice that much because it slowly, gradually works in. So I can tell you by having not had the salts and electrolytes in that gallon of water that I had last night and going to the toilet 5 to 10x times more, tells you how much sodium helps absorb the water and keeps it in you. So this made me dehydrated because I was just peeing. So the 10 liters, oh sorry, the 1 gallon, which is I think 4 liters that I drank, I essentially pissed them all out. So waste of fucking time. So I'll be going by and getting some distilled water again and adding my electrolytes to that this time after this workout. But anyway, that's what I had. A bunch of water, a protein shake, 1 cup of coffee, and a energy drink just to get me going. It is 3 o'clock in the afternoon now as I'm doing this workout. Still haven't eaten a solid meal. I will go home and have my breakfast, which is breaking the fast, break fast. I'll be having that, although I'm not technically fasted with liquids, I know what I'm saying here. Technically my first meal will be, I'll probably just have steak and eggs. Alright, yeah, and that'll be pretty much it. Then I'll have more of a soft meal later on. So I consider a liquid meal, a soft meal, and a hard meal, which I've discussed in previous videos. This will be my hard meal on the way out after this. I've had my liquid meal, or liquid meals, so to speak, although I had all those pretty much in one sort of hour. I will have my softer meal later on tonight. Let's see what that will be. But essentially that's how I eat. That's why I eat this way. 1 liquid meal, 1 soft meal, 1 hard. I don't need that much. I can still hold muscle and strength. I don't believe we need to eat anywhere near as much food as we're told we need to eat. So this is another topic for another day. But anyway, that's definitely way too much rest. You do not have this much rest when you work out, please. There is no excuse unless you're recording a video. So let's just pump out. I'm going to do higher repetitions on this for this first set. Let's see what we can get. Well, wasn't expecting to do that many. 30 will do. I'll add a little bit more weight and see what we can get out of that next set. Go somewhere around, let's say 15 to 20. If I can get 20 reps out of the next, then I'll add more weight and try and go for 10. So 30, 20, 10. If I only get 15 out, then I'm going to go as 30, then 15, which is half, and half of 15 will be 7.5 round up to 8. So I'll do that. Now, if you're sticking to a program, then you'll want whatever routine this will be, 30, 20, 10 or 30, 15, 8. Then stick to that. See if you gain from there. Be aware that you need to gain strength before you'll gain size. A lot of guys are going to the gym to gain size. It's a bit of a vanity game, especially these days, especially when you're a little younger, because you're trying to catch up. When you're younger, you want to get old pretty quick. When you're old, you want to get younger pretty quick. So take your time in your youth and enjoy that while you're there. You'll spend a lot more time being old than you will spend being young. So, lessons from an old man, I guess. So yeah, I'm gonna check some weights on here and see what happens. Sometimes I wish you guys could hear some of the music that plays in this gym. The guy that runs it, pretty choice dude. That is some pretty dope music. Now, you might, well, no you won't. I was gonna say you might hear it now, but you won't. Rage Against the Machine at the moment. A lot of old school rock and some crazy ass tunes from back in the days that just bring you into that energy bubble of just, let's go. But I use software that has to eliminate this music out of the recording. So the original videos will have all of this in the background, and including the guys that swear and scream and pump themselves up in the gym like around me. But once I run through the software and eliminate background noises and enhance this voice only and stuff, it kind of mellows out all the noise in the background. Otherwise there's copyright strikes and all stuff on this music. And at the same time, I add a little bit of that background music in the background to sort of muffle up those sounds as well. I only have access to that one song. I'm not the best when it comes to this type of video editing and software editing and understanding the rules and laws around it, so I stay pretty basic, and I just loop that one song over and over in the background. Pretty sure you're not watching my videos to listen to music, so care factor is pretty low on that. I am open to, if anyone out there is producing and making their own music and they want their music played in the background, and if it's yours and you're not out here trying to get royalties and payments and you want me to use it and spread it, I'm happy to play that music in the background and add and tag you in the bottom in the description. So if you want that, just reach out. Happy to help and promote. So anyway, that set of 30 kind of gassed me out more than anything as far as breathing, not necessarily muscles fatigue. So my muscles probably got still enough in there to pull a good, I don't know, at least 15 out of this, I say. But I guess there's only one way to know, and it's because ain't nothing to it but to do it, apparently. So here we go. Let's get it done, son. Come on. Rage. Ugh. Whatever happened to the Rage Against the Machine, huh? They get caught in the Matrix stuff. What's going on with these guys? Spitting some real stuff. Right. Boom, shaka, boom. Oh yeah. Right, so that was 14, I think. I think I maybe had a 15th one in me, energy-wise, but my right shoulder just did a little something. I don't know if you guys caught that, but the technique kind of twisted me in. So that means my stabilizers are either shot, don't want to work anymore, or there's a little tweak or something going on in there that I'm unaware of just yet. I'm sure I'll feel it at some point. So I'll just stop just for the sake of, you know, one rep is fine by me. I still roughly, you know, half. So I'll add a little bit more weight and half that. The only thing I will do is pause this video while I go use this gentleman's room, as I am in need. But then yeah, come back and finish out what will be the last set of the workout for you guys for the day, actually. A good 10 minutes of reverse walking on the treadmill with the treadmill off, in case anyone does wonder. I force the treadmill to move with my feet. I don't have the treadmill on. 1,000 steps on the stair climber, 5 sets on the flat, 4 sets on the vertical, and 3 sets on the decline. Anyway, I'll pause this video and you go to the toilet. See you guys in a sec. Right, so we're back. Just adjusted the weight there, put a little bit more on, and put another camera over there so I can put something on Instagram. So I've got one set. I'm thinking around about 7, 8. As you can see, the last few of the last sets of the last 2 exercises, I've pushed out a little bit more than I thought. So trust me if I tell you that I'm stopping at the number. I'm stopping at the number for a reason. I will try and push through, even if it's a little bit hard. I still try and push through. I'm not out here trying to just hit a number because I said so. I'm happy to be wrong on my prediction. Let's get that workout in, make sure that it's hard on the body. But I'm also doing the opposite as well, whereas I'm keeping an eye on like that last set. I'm not trying to rip out the last rep to potentially injure myself just based on that one injury sort of tweak that I thought was going to happen. And the reason I thought it is because I felt, and the reason I felt and I realized that is because I've had a few before, so be aware of that. It's not a good thing that I knew that. But here we go. Last one. All right, brother. This one. The microphone inside the shirt sits in the wrong place. I'm crushing the damn thing with the bar. Okay, here we go. Oh. All right, a few more than I thought. Happy with that. That throws out the theory. Felt like I could have got maybe a few more in that second set. Since I got 30 in the first set and 10 in the last set, the second set should have been 20. My little mathematical brain tells me that doesn't make sense. My pattern recognition doesn't like that. But anyway, look, I'm gonna see you guys hopefully if I don't make the mistake with the recording and stuff with the second attempt at my video in my office, talking head video in my office, a little bit more about me and the stories and the life that I've lived versus trying to put you guys through that rubbish if you're just trying to get some training tips and tricks. I'll leave the training videos to just training. You'll notice in the first 20 odd videos I try to incorporate those two together. Trying to find my little spot, my little niche, my little comfort zone. So if you want to listen to a story or my philosophies and thoughts and learns and lessons over time and travel and work and a lot of mistakes, then you can tune into those videos. But if you want to just learn about training, get some exercise tips, tricks and ideas, then I'll make those videos just for that as well. So I'll try and separate those two, have those 2 videos a week going up, or one of each versus 2 videos that are incorporated. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm going with that. I appreciate you guys tuning in, listening, taking the time to hopefully drop a like and a comment, either here or on Instagram, same name on Instagram. I am trying to do this for you guys, help you guys out. I don't want to dive with this information, but it is, again, as I've mentioned a million times before, my training routine, my training regime, and my understanding of my own body, not recommendations for anybody to go out and try anything specific. If I do say that sometimes, I have misspoken. I'm just trying to tell you guys what I do, not trying to tell you guys what to do. You can go and practice, try yourself, figure it out. Everybody is unique. Everybody is different. No 2 people are ever the same. Nor will their functions, their movements, no matter what science and biology tells us, it is not for everyone all the time across the board. So be aware of that. Science studies don't prove anything. They just prove that people in the group have these statistical outcomes. And I find myself in almost every study be the statistical anomaly, or in that percentage of people that didn't, or that did do the thing that they're trying to prove with this group. So I'm always in that smaller. 95% of people do this. I'm going to be in that 5%, more than likely. It's the way it is. So therefore, I don't believe in that kind of stuff. And I don't believe anybody else should. There is use for those things, but mostly for marketing and selling purposes. But anyway, enough of that. I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you for being here. like, subscribe, follow, share, click, tick, whatever. I'm not doing this for that, so whatever. See you guys on the next one. Peace.